Hi, everyone. Welcome to Riffing and Ranting. I am one of your co-hosts, Carter. I'm the founder and host of YouTube geography channel That Is Interesting.
I'm Quinn. I'm a film major in Chicago, and I have my own YouTube channel where I give film tricks.
And hello, my name is Brett. I'm currently a junior at an aviation school where I'm trained to become hopefully a tanker pilot in the future, but probably starting out just going to do crop dusting. And I've known these two since high school, and even before that.
We've got a special guest today, our good friend Irwin from LA, who we've been friends with since high school. And we're gonna host this podcast once a week. We'll sort of get into more of a set routine with dates and times and everything, but we'll try to bring on a new guest each week and just have a nice, fun, interesting conversation with them.
Share some stories.
You can listen to it live here on the That Is Interesting Discord server, or your favorite podcast apps and on the channel after we've recorded it. But if you listen to it live, you can get the chance to ask us questions and chat with us. So, yeah.
I was reading about, or no, my dad told me about this. He was saying that the Hawaii fires could have been prevented because I think they released something saying that the power line that those power lines on Hawaii weren't very secure and that they could have been better taken care of, so to speak, or better maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah.
Well, I think with like any natural disaster or any man-made disaster, there's always some sort of like uncertainty, or there's always a factor of uncertainty that we can't really account for. Well, especially with like Hurricane Hillary, like that had recently struck the coast, and I think those winds might have also affected power lines, which in turn ended up causing the Maui fires. But there really just is that factor of uncertainty. With anything really.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Irwin, did you feel those earthquakes last week?
Oh, I did. What's it called? That was the first earthquake that I'd felt in about a year because I had been living away from home for the past year.
Yeah.
And I was only able to visit over the break, but there wasn't really anything major over the months of December and January, thankfully. But for this past Hurricane Hillary, for the earthquake that had hit, the 5.1, I could feel my desk shaking. I was just sitting at my desk and I was just working on some forms that I had to fill in, and my water was like moving. I had some water in a glass, and it was just like visibly shaking. I thought my dog was under the desk, like scratching his back or something. But I had I had looked, and my dog was not there, and I walked out, and everyone else had that like look of shock, and it was like the first time that I had felt that in like a year. So that was relatively new.
Oh my God, the plot of San Andreas is coming true.
The plot of San Andreas. Oh man. Well, I mean, the fault line is pretty huge. We earthquakes are pretty common in California, but at least for me, I haven't felt as many earthquakes, but we're definitely still prone to them. Yeah.
I mean, they're usually pretty minor, but anyone from California always talks about the big one. Supposedly, we're pretty overdue for a huge earthquake, and like our two biggest cities are right on the fault line. So,
boy,
the big one.
The big one.
Thank God I
before
moved out.
the year 2020.
Well, you guys have fun in California. I moved out, and yeah, I'm safe.
Wait,
well, not really.
You moved out?
Yeah. So for those of you, well, I know I told Carter and Quinn this, but Erwin, it's been a while since I talked to you. Yeah. So, my family and I moved to Arizona and Wyoming. It's very complicated. I don't really want to delve into all of it, but in any event, I've been in Wyoming for about 6 years now, it was just becoming way too expensive for us to live here, and not financially reasonable. Because my dad's a small business owner, and California's taxes, at least for my understanding, I could be very wrong, but this is just all information that I was told by my father. The taxes were just becoming too much for him and his business, so he wanted to move out of the state where he could still have his business and not be taxed as much. And then also, I think my parents, I mean, at the end of the day, at least my dad and my mom wanted to change a pace, so we moved. We moved to those two states just so we could be close to some family and also just have a fresh start, so to speak. But yeah.
No, I mean, cost of living is definitely real high out here.
Yeah.
Housing costs. I mean, but one of our big takeaways was like from going abroad is cost of living in the U.S. overall is real high, even in like the Midwest or cheaper areas. We went to like Germany, and you could buy like full like I don't know. We were buying like a ton of stuff for like just a few bucks, and the like actual purchasing power of the money that you have, I feel like is so much stronger. Depending on what country you're in, Iceland was a different beast.
Yeah, different
Iceland
story.
is like California on steroids in terms of prices, but
no, yeah,
I never thought that would be possible.
yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, well, now when I say that I was working on the farm, now we got like a tiny little family plot, and we're just growing alfalfa and selling it to some ranches nearby, and or just all over the state. So it's nice.
That's actually like that's the most like serene thing I could think of. Just like you on your farm, growing some crops and selling them. I mean, that's so awesome. And it's like a huge step away from like city life. Well, especially speaking from my background and where I grew up. For those of you in the audience, I grew up in Boyle Heights, and that's like more of the city area. So I'm used to that sort of life. But I also have family in Mexico that grew up in like rural areas and grew up with farms and pastures and just getting by with what they grew. And those are like two completely different lives. And it's just awesome to see that sort of life play out where you can just chill at your farm and like grow your own crops and, be happy with the day's work at the end.
Yeah, I mean, like I definitely struggled. I didn't struggle like getting used to it because when I was younger, I always loved. I don't know. I never really felt like a traditional city kid of, always going out and doing things. I always like just I don't know, slower lifestyle, and I definitely feel like farming has offered a lot of that to me. I don't know. I say farming with loose air quotes because I mean we don't grow any like actual crops, but I'll just use that loose term for now. But yeah, I mean, I just love the work and gets me outside and active, and I'm not just sitting on, my computer all day playing video games like I did back in the dorms. Well, I don't know. We did a bunch of stuff, Irwin. I mean, I remember, you guys might like this. I remember I think we went with one of our friends to go get the Travis Scott meal back in the day. That was definitely a funny one. That was a good one.
Yeah, we would get out there. It was fun. But well, for the school that we went to, I mean, that was like it was kind of weird for the position where it was because it was like kind of a city and kind of not at the same time. It was just like a matter of driving like 40 minutes. But for me, at least, that's what it felt like. I don't know if you guys have any opinion on that.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, California, there's a lot of like big cities and smaller cities, but there's also like a lot of people forget it's a huge state. There's a lot of rural areas and like mountains everywhere. So you can go to some places that are like pretty remote, but that also aren't that far from big population centers. So like that's
Well,
a cool thing. I feel like
remote's kind of a
compared to
loose
like
term, though.
yeah, but
I
like
will
compared to like
say.
other parts
Mhm.
of the country, like in the West, like I think people spend a lot of time like outside and um in nature, which is pretty cool because there's just a lot more accessibility with that. Um, like even if you're in like LA or the Bay Area, there's still mountains just really close by.
Yeah, I can tell you the East Coast is definitely very, very cold. Very, very cold. Or there's like some seasons where it would be a regular temperature of like 70 to 80. Or at least me speaking as a Californian, that would be a regular temperature. But like during the month of like December or even as early as like October, it'll like drop to like 50, 50 or 40. And that's just me.
Yeah, well, I know upstate gets really cold, right?
Oh yeah, especially upstate.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine now. What was that first winter like for you?
Oh, the first winter. I was accustomed to it, but it was definitely a different setting because the university I'm attending is more of like a city place.
Mm.
So seeing like the city covered in a layer of snow and like me walking out to see that it was kind of surreal almost because I had like expected it, but it just wasn't the same as like walking into a city that isn't covered in snow. So
Right.
that was definitely a change. But I was accustomed to the winter. I definitely came prepared because I had talked to people that had lived in the area for a while, and I came with like my boots, my jacket, and everything. So I was fine.
Well prepared.
Yeah,
That's
well
good.
prepared.
Well, how was that first winter for you? Well, you guys were out in Pennsylvania though before, so you guys were kind of
We
used
were,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I
how
mean,
long?
Pennsylvania definitely gets all four seasons, but like they last the right amount of time. Like I think maybe that's just because like that's where we grew up. But it was like Minnesota. Like it's nice when you get the snow at first, but it has no business going until April. You know, like
Yeah, having like a
it's like
winter that
it's got
ends
to
in
stop
May
at some
just
point.
sucks.
Yeah, and it's still like even when it stops snowing, it's still like cold and like dreary
Yeah.
into May. Like oh man, it's finally getting nice a week before I'm gonna leave school and go back home. But
Yeah,
we
like the
had
one thing. Oh, sorry.
oh go for it.
You
No,
go.
no, go for it.
Oh, well, the one thing that I really noticed moving to Chicago was like when I was just in California, I didn't really know what people meant when they said like, "Oh, today's such a nice day," because like literally every day is a nice day. But it's like when you're like in a place that actually gets cold and like has a real winter and stuff, you like really appreciate those days where the sun's out, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dude, we
Yeah.
had this year, I'm in Minnesota, and they had it was cold all year, and there was just like a week where it was like in the 90s in like March, which is so unusual because it's always going to be like significantly colder, if not snowy, then. And everyone was like having a great time. It's like, oh man, it's like feels like summer's starting. Like a lot of our professors like even like let us out of class or had class outside. And it's just like you see like everybody is like cooped up all year. Everyone is like sad, there's nothing going on. And then the sun comes out. It's like a great day. Like everyone was just like having an amazing time. The whole like atmosphere on campus was noticeably different. And then we're like, oh man, it's gonna be a great rest of the year. And then April Fool's Day, we wake up, it's snowing. It's like, how does it go from 90 for a week to just snowing like immediately after? Like, where am I?
I'll tell you where.
Yeah, the Midwest, maybe. Yeah,
Notified. No, yeah. Upstate New York. I definitely had a week like that where it was just like 70 to like 31 in like and within the span of an hour. Like it was sunny, everything was looking great. The sky was blue, and then it was like snowing within like 2 hours. And
Wow.
that was crazy. And it's also I think it's also coming from like the huge body of water that's like further up, separating Canada and upstate New York. But I'm pretty close to that area, so that like shift was like insane.
Yeah, I can't relate to any of that. I'm in
Yeah,
Arizona. I'm in Arizona. I don't have a.
Arizona.
It's just 110 and just dry all year. I hate it.
Jeez. I know that's the thing. Like, people complain about the winters, but when you're in like a really hot area, the summers can be actually pretty rough.
Yeah,
if you're
they
not like
are.
if you're not close to the ocean.
Kind of. They are rough.
Yeah, they're real rough. Yeah.
I feel like I'm in like the sun right now.
Like, you can't go outside, but for different reasons.
Yeah, if I go outside, I get like freaking burned to hell.
Yeah.
I remember. I'm trying to. I remember I had. And me and my parents, we drove up to Havasu Lake, and I know it's just like right on the edge of Arizona. 110 the entire day, and it had only dropped to like 105 throughout the night. And we were in a hotel, and I was like begging to like get into the pool at like midnight because it was like 102, and it was just so crazy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, everyone like fantasizes they're like Havasu. It kind of sucks. It's just hot all year. It's just really hot and dry, and then I don't know.
Don't they have? It's the weirdest thing. They have the London Bridge there, at Lake Havasu, Arizona. It's like the actual London Bridge.
Oh
they
it is.
it in from London, and London had to get a new one. Because Arizona's just got it. This like random lake town.
Yeah, see, we're balling out like that. I mean, I don't know. Havasu, whenever people think of spring break for college kids, that's where people go. But I think it's overrated as hell. You got to go. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Lake Powell, it's pretty sweet.
Lake Powell?
Or Lake Shasta, yeah, that's huge. For those of you guys that have been there, it's just like, it's basically a lake inside of like the equivalent of the Grand Canyon. There's a ton of cliffs you can jump off of. There's these really cool bays and undercut banks, and it's beautiful. I love it.
Well, have you seen all the pictures? Because like the Glen Canyon where Lake Powell is,
I have
like
pictures.
Brett said, it's like the Grand Canyon, and they dammed it. But then with all this drought that they've been getting, like there's been sections of it that have been underwater for, I don't know, decades, maybe even a century.
Lake Mead also had something big too, like that.
Yeah, but then like people can actually go and like go down the canyon like how it was before it was dammed, and like explore Glen Canyon, which is kind of a rare upside of the drought. But the drought's been really bad, especially in the like interior west.
Yeah. Well, I know similar to Lake Mead, Lake Powell, when the water level, they really dropped in there. I think they're currently letting out water now to prepare for the winter. They found a crap ton of like wrecked boats and everything.
Right.
And then, I mean, everyone, for those of you that don't know, Lake Mead, they found like dead bodies, which they think, I don't know, like the mafia whacked someone back in like the 70s or something, just dumped the bodies in the water. But anyway, Lake Powell didn't have that, at least as far as I'm aware. I think we just found like wrecked boats that they can never recover because they were, I don't know, in a really weird spot, and they could get divers, pick whatever reason you guys want. But yeah, it was really cool to see some of that. I saw a couple of them, and it was definitely, I don't know, it was cool, but a little scary.
There's a lake sort of near where we are. And I remember once at like the height of the drought, it fully dried up pretty much. And we went, and like Quinn and I went and like explored the bottom of the lake, and there was like an old like road going through it that had been submerged. We found these old like milk cartons from when it used to be a farm, milk crates. So it's pretty eerie to sort of go and like explore these things that have been underwater for a really long time, but then like all of a sudden it's like you sort of get to like step into the past almost when they dry up.
Yeah. Another interesting thing too, that I remember learning about was at the bottom of Lake Shasta in Northern California. I think when they dammed it up, they completely submerged a town.
Oh man.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't know.
There's a lot of like interesting things like that. Like you'll see some of the lakes that have like church steeples like sticking out. I don't know,
That's
Brett, if you know up by the Mackenzie, there's this lake we went to called Clear Lake, and basically this was so interesting. It
I
was
know Clear
formed,
Lake.
Clear, yeah, okay. It was
Yeah.
formed from a volcanic, so like a lava flow that blocked off a valley,
Mhm.
and all this
Whoa.
like cold, like glacial melt was just coming out of the mountains, and it slowly filled it up. And there had been a forest in the valley floor, but the water was so cold that even though this had the valley had flooded thousands of years ago, the water was so cold that it actually preserved the tree trunks. It froze the tree trunks. It was so cold that they couldn't naturally decompose. So you go in this lake and it's crystal clear, and you're in like a boat. You're like canoeing around these trees that are like these really tall pines that are coming up from the bottom of the lake, that have been there for thousands of years. It was the most eerie thing, but it was so cool.
Yeah, Clear Lake has a lot of really cool stuff inside of it. Sounds a little eerie at times. I don't know. It's been a few years since I've been there, so maybe they've changed it. I just remember my dog when he was still alive. He pooed in the water right next to a family. I felt really bad. At least
Wow.
my
It's gonna be
dad.
there forever, Frozen.
No. We fished it
Just
out, or my dad fished it out because he was walking the dog. I just walked off and acted like I didn't know him. I might be a bad son for that, but it was really funny in hindsight. So
I thought
Yeah.
you were just
Fishing
gonna let
is
it like
crazy.
cement
Yeah.
cement at the bottom of the lake.
No.
It'll become part
Well-
of history.
If any of you guys have any questions for us throughout the thing, just type them in the chat.
Or if you guys want us to
we'll
tell
try
more
to definitely answer them.
stories,
Yeah,
tell us some more
just let us
stories
know.
too. We have
Be
some funny
happy to
stories. We have some
answer
funny
your
stories of
questions.
Irwin if you guys want to hear them.
Oh gee.
Don't worry, there's none that'll get you canceled.
It's story time. I'm reading the
Yeah.
chat about talking about high energy cost. Oh yeah, that high energy cost is
Oh
crazy
yeah.
in Europe.
Yeah.
Erwin, how was your dorm life last year?
So dorm life last year for my first university, it was as any college student first year dorm life would be. The dorms weren't as like they were pretty, or my unit was a bit bigger than what everyone else had gotten, but it was still pretty cramped. It was still pretty small.
Okay.
It was on the second floor of a building. It was on campus, and I couldn't complain really. I had everything that I needed. I went to classes. I had my skateboard. It was okay. Yeah,
I forgot you turned into a skater kid. Unless I forgot about that.
It's honestly way easier to get around on a skateboard, but once that December hits and like the rain, sleet, and like snow starts hitting, I just can't use it anymore. So that kind of
Yeah.
sucks for the skateboard. But I mean, I got around. The campus is like a medium to mid-sized for a college campus, and I think the university that I'm going to, it's like they had copied like the layout of another university in Texas. So there's this one stretch where there's like a wind tunnel, and whenever it's super windy outside, there's just like a huge stretch that's just like a wind tunnel. So like you're walking and then like you get knocked over by like a wind, like walking to 9 a.m. class, and it had happened to me. I almost fell off and like slid on like the ice that had formed overnight. But
Hurricane force
time.
winds.
Hurricane force winds. No, yeah, but it's been solid.
So
Nice.
better or worse than our dorms at our high school?
No, I would definitely pick our dorms at our high school. Our dorms at our high school. I had the 2 unit at the dorms at our high school. So, and there was way more space. But
Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
I mean,
I was RAing for you. Yeah. Oh, some of the stories that I have, we can't share, but I just remembered some.
No, yeah. I would definitely pick our dorms in high school.
I honestly would rather have the dorms I have at my current school. I mean, they're a little crappier, but we got a lot more out of it. Like, we got a full kitchen in our room, and we had a lounge area, but our rooms were really small and they didn't have that much space. But I would say, like, having just a lounge area where only your roommates have access to and nobody else, that was pretty sweet.
That's
At least for
That's
me.
awesome.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Wait, weren't you
So-
living in a house for like
No,
the
yeah,
second
so I'm currently
semester?
still in a house. Me and some of my roommates, at least the ones I'm close with, we got a house, and now we're just vibing, hanging out, just going to school, and then I'm flying outside of it, and I'm working too. So I'm not around. Not around as much, but I do enjoy, just living in a house. That sort of separation from campus really helped with at least my mental health, because living on my campus kind of was just really boring and it sucked. But I'm glad I had the
Really
experience.
cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice,
Oh,
nice.
someone
And then
asked
you,
where we went
oh
in
yeah.
Luxembourg. Oh, sorry, what were you saying, Irwin?
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we were in Luxembourg City. I liked Luxembourg City a lot. What do you?
We were just there for one night, but it was great.
Yeah, we spent like a decent amount of time in both days on either end of it there, because the train ride to Paris wasn't too long. But yeah, Luxembourg was really cool because it has this. The whole city is like built in the hills in this valley. There's a river that cuts through it, maybe like two rivers. So the whole city is like up on these cliff faces, and on either side connected with bridges. There's some down below, and you have like elevators going down into the canyon, going up. There's these sky bridges. There's like old castles and sort of like a medieval city center. But then there's this like newer, like EU. I don't know. It might be the EU Court of Justice. There's some. I know a lot of like banks and financial centers there. So it's not just. You go to some cities in Europe and you just feel like the whole thing is like really overwhelmed by tourists. But Luxembourg, most of the people you see walking around are wearing suits and have these. They're there for business. But then the all the buildings are built in like a similar style and like the same three shades of like gray, like beige, and like sort of this reddish color. I don't know. It was really cool. And the public transit, it had my favorite public transit of any city we went to on the trip. It's these trains that are really like, they sound like you're cutting butter. They're so smooth.
They were
They're free
too.
for everybody.
Yeah.
There's no like pass or anything. You just hop on, hop off. They're really fast.
They come like every 2
super-
minutes too.
Yeah, they
Just
come
go
every 2
everywhere in the
minutes.
city.
They're like clean, colorful. And then they also have these like funicular incline things that take you up the hills. They have these big like elevators and glass tunnels, because the city is built in such an interesting, unusual spot. They have to like find all these ways to get across the geography of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really cool. And super beautiful, like rolling hills and small mountains, vineyards, the like rural parts of the country where just taking the train through it, super beautiful. How long would you say you could stay in Luxembourg without getting bored? I don't know. I think we could have spent at least a few more days there. Like, I definitely wish we had stayed a little longer there. But it is a smaller city for sure.
Yeah, we were there for just one night, but we spent like
Yeah.
the whole time exploring, so we saw like, I'd say, a lot of the city. Like, we could have stayed like a few more days and seen like a lot more, but I think like 2 or 3 days is like a good time.
Yeah. Okay. Someone said no way Luxembourg is not fully urban. Yeah, it's actually like it has such a high population density just because it's so small. But the city itself is pretty small. The city itself is a few 100,000. So it takes up a significant chunk of the country, but not the whole thing. And the nice thing is because it's so small, it's really, you can easily walk across the whole city. No problem. Did we hear any Luxembourgish when we were there? Honestly, I have no idea. We probably did. The language there is really interesting because it's sort of similar to both French and German. And then people also speak French and German. It's like a trilingual country. Plus, everyone also understands English for the most part. So, yeah, you hear like a ton of different languages when you're there. We went to a Turkish restaurant, and they had like on the wall, like, we speak these languages, and they had like 12 different languages there, and there were 3
Whoa.
employees in the place. It was crazy.
Pretty
It's like, oh my god. Super multilingual country, which was really cool.
Yeah, the thing I noticed over summer is just like everyone outside of the US is so multilingual. Like here everyone just speaks English and like I don't know, but like
Spanish
most
if
people
you're
abroad,
Yeah.
yeah, most people abroad spoke like at least 2 or 3 languages. So that was really cool to see.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the one country where it was tough to get by speaking English was France. People knew maybe a few basic words, and so we had to like sort of learn French on the fly, which made for some interesting interactions. Because our French is terrible. I've never learned French.
when I've traveled
Learned Spanish in
internationally.
high school and college and stuff, but all the other countries, it was like we would even try to like learn some words in the languages and stuff, that people spoke English. Greenland, I mean, Greenland was kind of crazy because there's 3 main regions that each have regional languages, which they call dialects of Greenlandic, but the fact is they're basically mutually unintelligible with one another. If you think about, people have been separated by hundreds, even thousands of miles of ice.
Someone from like northern Greenland, they'll speak like North Greenlandic. They'll speak West Greenlandic, which is like the standardized version of the language. They'll also speak Danish, because it's like a Danish colony, and then most of them speak English too. So like we met this guy who came up to us and started speaking Danish because he thought we were Faroese.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he was from North Greenland. So it was like, but then he like, once he found out we were American, he started speaking English. So this guy speaks like 4 languages, and that's what like most people in the country do, which was kind of incredible to think about.
This was nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder how that well-roundedness in like speaking comes by. Like how many opportunities do they really have to like speak to Americans? And as you said, like in Greenland or in Iceland, I believe they don't get a lot of visitors. Like how would they have like that well-roundedness to sort of learn these languages?
I don't know. Greenland, Iceland definitely gets a ton of tourists, especially like proportional to their population.
Okay.
But I don't know about Greenland because they're not a super tourist heavy country. But I mean, it is like a language of like business and things like that, so that might be part of it.
Don't they do a lot of filmmaking on Greenland, or is that Iceland?
Really no.
Where was Lord of the Rings filmed?
That was New
was
Zealand.
It was Iceland.
Oh yeah, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Fun fact: I went there when I was in New
Really?
Zealand back in 8th grade. Yeah,
Oh,
Oh,
it was
wow.
it's pretty sweet. Yeah, there's a lot of sheep out there.
a lot of
You
sheep in
recommend
Iceland too.
New Zealand, yeah, I would recommend it. I mean, it's essentially like the most peaceful place you can go. I
You
mean,
go to the Shire?
I think their military is so like their military is more of like a relief group than an actual military because they just have zero conflict with anyone. It's honestly really eye-opening.
Oh yeah, in Iceland, I don't think the police have guns. And then also Greenland only had like 9 police officers. Pretty
We
sure.
saw one of them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We saw 1/9 of all the police officers in all of Greenland.
I mean, it's nice though because they just know the population to where
Yeah.
violent
Right.
crime really happens compared to, where we are, some European countries.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy. Like we were like leaving this like club in Greenland at like the middle of the night.
Wait,
And
you
then,
went clubbing?
oh yeah.
We did.
Greenland has
In
like
Greenland
Yo,
and
no
Greenland.
way.
one club that like everyone pulls up to it. Like
It's in a garage.
yeah, it's in like a loading dock. It was so cool though. It's like there's this one building that has both like a grocery store, a bar, like a burger place, actually 2 bars and a
It
club.
was like 5 different places in one, pretty much.
And then
Take
you
the club
walk
part out of it,
outside.
and that's my kind of jam.
You like walk outside and you like look down the street and you're 2 blocks from like Greenland's version of the White House. Like
What?
just right there. Like the president could have been there for all we know. Like
You could have had taken, drinking with the president.
exactly. Well, it's
Yeah.
the whole island is like 50,000 people, and I think a lot of them go to the university, which is in Nuuk. So people from all over the island and like all these far-flung towns and cities, a lot of them know each other. So it is like huge, but it almost feels like sort of one like small town. So like we met this one guy, who we met these 2 people who we were hanging out with who were from like 2 different cities and completely different parts of the island. And they're in a city that they're not from, but they know everybody because they all like went to college there. They're like introduced, they like are going up and just meeting everybody that they know. And they're like all from like these totally different places. So it was just like such an interesting thing. It's like everyone kind of knows each other. We saw like this guy there who had like worked at this like pizza place that we were at. We'd seen him like the day before. So you will actually like walk around the city and see the same people multiple times.
That's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
really
Although I imagine living in Greenland and Iceland is like living in Alaska, or at least in certain parts of Alaska. It's just really harsh.
yeah.
Did we ask any Greenlander about their thoughts on independence from Denmark?
Well, we met that one guy that had lived in Denmark.
That
Oh
one
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, we
Great
met like a
description.
Danish guy who had
Mhm.
moved to Greenland. Yeah. I don't know if we did. We asked a lot. I asked a lot about the like languages and the regional languages of the island, and we met a ton of people who were like traveling to and from just like completely different parts of Greenland.
Mhm.
It was really interesting. But I heard recently they actually drafted the president, or the current president of Greenland is pro-independence, and they drafted like a constitution that would go into effect were they to become an independent country. So it's kind of interesting. It's definitely ramping up a little bit.
That's cool.
Are there any states I haven't been to? Yeah, there's actually
Wyoming.
a decent amount. Yeah, I haven't been to Wyoming. There's some that I've sort of just driven or passed through, but haven't spent time in. So if you count the states I've spent time in, I think I've been to about half the states in the country. I've actually like spent time and visited them. But
You've been to
it's
more states than you have, now I think about it.
maybe, yeah. I mean, I actually some weird ones. Like I've never been to Florida. I've
Yeah,
never
neither have I.
been.
Thank
I
God.
haven't spent a lot of time in like I've never been really to the deep south. I've been to like Arkansas and Tennessee and Kentucky,
Oh, Arkansas is so humid.
but I haven't been into like Louisiana or Georgia or any of that.
Alabama.
Never been to Bama. Although the Alabama video will be dropping very soon, guys. I'm editing it right now.
You been to Texas?
Yeah, I've been to Texas. Went to like passed through El Paso, went to Austin and San Antonio, and then like the hill country. But I actually haven't, which is weird because I'm up in Minnesota. I've never been to like the Dakotas or Montana or Idaho.
Oh,
that part
dude,
of the
yeah,
West.
come on.
No, actually, I have been to Wyoming, Brett. What am I saying?
No, okay, you
yeah,
haven't been to my Wyoming
I haven't
then.
been to your one. I went to Cheyenne.
That kind of counts.
Yeah.
You haven't been in the Yellowstone area. That's where I'm
No.
out of. DJ, yes, I do fly the Thunder Chicken as dubbed here by some of my friends, but I've flown. I've flown a close friend of mine. None of you guys know who this is. They own an Epic E1000, or they lease one, so I got to fly that, log some time, and that was just pretty sweet. I've flown a helicopter before, but didn't log any of the time. And then I flew a multi-engine. I've flown a Cessna 310, if you know what that is. I've thrown it a few times. Yeah, that's really it for now. In the future, hoping to fly like an air tractor or like a BAE 146, if you know what that is, the 4-engine Metroliner that they British Airways used to use. Yeah, but switching gears, Carter, you need to come out to Montana, Wyoming, man. I got the hookup.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't think I haven't shared this publicly yet, but I'm going to graduate college in a few months.
Yeah.
Visit the rest of the states that I haven't made videos on yet for the US Explained. Film on site, meet people, do some interviews, sort of like what I did with Illinois, visiting Illinois, spending time in Chicago, and that was like a really cool way to do the video. So especially geographically, a lot of them are out west. So I don't know if I'd take the train or drive around, but
Oh, you gotta drive out to my place, dude.
yeah,
Come to Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. It'll be sweet.
yeah. So I'll probably start planning that, planning some visits. It would be cool to maybe get on some podcasts or radio shows, like maybe even do some fan meetups. I don't know. I got to plan the whole thing out. But yeah, I can like visit people I know in each of those states too. Like, yeah, like Brett. Then I have some friends in other states too. So that would be pretty sweet. It would also be like, I also like visiting Hawaii, Alaska. Definitely want to visit the territories. So, the
Guam.
the goal is to finish the series, chilling on a beach in the Northern Marianas. So that's the goal, at least. We'll see, but I'll keep you guys updated on that as I plan out the logistics of that a little more.
It's gonna be a fun time. Yeah, I might accompany you on some of those things.
Oh,
in the future.
absolutely, man.
Since I'm graduating in 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
These two will, or at least Quinn has a couple years left.
Yeah, I got a few more years.
L.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So Irwin,
What's up?
how's your lifts been?
My life.
Oh my god. For those who don't know, Quinn and Irwin are total gym bros.
Yes.
You guys might be gym strong, but you aren't farm tough.
Farm
Putting that out
Did
there.
did you do any
Hey, we've done a little
lifting in
farming here
Greenland?
Huh?
In Greenland? No, I just did like push-ups.
Nice.
Yeah,
We
that
didn't
whole
hit
trip, like we didn't go to any gyms,
I
so
know. But we walked so much though.
we
Get that
did.
get that cardio up. Don't skip out on
Like-
cardio and leg day, you two.
Especially
honestly,
in
that was-
Dallas,
Uh-huh.
we like didn't figure out how that the metro system was as cheap as it actually was. We like thought it was like much more expensive for like the first few days. So we just like walked everywhere, and it's a huge city. So we were doing like 12 miles a day or something for a little bit?
We
Jeez.
did a 16-mile day the last day.
16 miles.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It was actually exhausting, but super cool.
It's nuts.
Yeah, that's a crazy cardio plan.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Walking 16 miles a day. That's what you hear though, is like people who live in the city are actually surprisingly usually in better shape than people who live in rural areas, just because they walk around so much more than as opposed to driving.
Hey, what are you trying to say?
But
I live out on the farm. I don't drive everywhere. I freaking lift everything. I mean, I have to drive into town because it's like 20 miles. But other than that, it's nothing but walking and heavy lifting and sweat.
you going to do a Canada province territory explain series? Definitely strongly considering it. It depends how worn out I am by the time I finish the US explained.
Take a
but
break, do a few other things, then do that one.
Yeah, that might be it. But definitely, like, if I do another series, it would probably be that.
You should do the Mexican states as explained.
Dude, aren't there like
That would-
30 of them? That would
There's
take a
30.
while.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, there's
huge
32.
regional differences. It would at least be cool to do like a regional breakdown of Mexico too. Because I know you got like
That-
the Yucatan is like super different from like the deserts up north, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
there's definitely what
isn't
happened.
Irwin, since your family's from Mexico, right?
Yeah,
Isn't one of the states surrounding the Mexico City like really mountainous?
Oh, okay. So there's 32 federal entities and states. So where my family's from is from the Puebla. So it's like a bit south from, like, I know these states are gonna sound a bit weird, like Veracruz, Guerrero, Oaxaca, and Puebla. That's like more to like the tip of Mexico, and then Puebla
okay.
is just in like the middle. Um, where my family's from, they have like just a rural, hilly, like farm area. So once you get to the main city of Mexico, you have to take like a 25, like a 4 hour like transit to get out to that little area because it's like
Oh,
so
wow.
secluded. Um, and that's in the middle of Puebla, next to like the main city. And yeah, there's definitely a difference between going to like Baja California and then going to like Veracruz, which they're both like on a coast, but the cultural differences are like pretty huge because from in Baja California, there's more tourism, there's more a lot, it's more heavy with like Western culture, and then Veracruz is closer to like Tabasco and Chiapas, which is more like indigenous and like almost Aztec in a sense. So there's
Yeah,
definitely that heavier vibe there in Veracruz, Puebla, Oaxaca than compared to like Baja California.
yeah. That would definitely be a really interesting video. Never been to Mexico. I'd love to go sometime.
I've been to Mexico a couple of times. I went down to Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez
Yeah.
with a
Uh-huh.
church group. I know Mexico is a very, very diverse and pretty place. I know I want to go down and see some more, learn more about the Aztecs, at least in the south, because aren't mainly like a lot of the Aztec ruins and stuff down south of Mexico, if I'm thinking about it correctly, Irwin?
Yes, so there's actually pyramids. There's like pyramids of Teotihuacan, which is in Puebla. I actually got the chance to go out there and see them. They're great. They're huge structures. You'd walk around the area where they're built
Can you
and
climb
just
them or
like see
no?
the history. No, you can't climb them because people have been climbing them and like leaving stuff up there. So, or just recently you can't climb them, but before you
Oh,
would.
that's too bad.
Yeah, I'd love to go see the
Restricted anyway.
cenotes in like the Yucatan. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah, there's a lot of beautiful history and nature associated with Puebla and the southern states. And more of that conflict is like up the north. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist at all in Mexico. There's definitely still some like conflicts, but there are really beautiful places in Puebla, Veracruz, and then Baja California. So it's just a really enriching experience if you get the chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know my mom wants to go. I mean, I know I told these guys this, but I mean, my family, at least on my mom's side, is Colombian, so we have very strong Colombian roots. But she always wants to get out to Mexico because some of our relatives live down there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Latin America is so interesting. I studied abroad in 3 different countries, but
Argentina.
yeah, I was in Argentina for a month.
Just
It
there.
was so cool. Yeah. It was in Buenos Aires, and just like such a huge, like diverse, fascinating city. Like I'd love to go back. And I definitely want to make some videos on like Argentina and sort of my experience there. And yeah, but like super unique, super interesting place.
Yeah, I went to Mendoza for spring break, and I got to see Aconcagua, and I hiked around in
Oh,
the
that's so cool.
mountains. It was there's no way to describe it. It's just awe-inspiring. It's
Yeah.
a really, really pretty mountain range. And then we learned about there was a plane crash that happened like decades ago. Like Uruguayan rugby team, their pilots crashed in the mountains out there, and I think they survived like 60 days or something out there. So
Oh man.
yeah, if you look it up, I can't remember what it is, but if anyone's interested enough, look it up. It's an incredible story. They did a movie on it too, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Argentina's like such a huge country too. Like the province of Buenos Aires is larger than the entire country of Italy. And it doesn't even look that big
Whoa.
on a map when you're like Argentina has dozens of provinces. Um, and then
Jungles
like
up in the north or Patagonia down in the
yeah,
south.
yeah, Patagonia, and you got like Tierra del Fuego, and just like the high peaks of the Andes. So I mean, I never really got too far outside the city, unfortunately. We were trying to go to Iguazu Falls, but we logistically didn't make it happen. But
I'll just send you the Incan ruins that we found in the Andes
that's
when
so
we
cool.
were out there. I didn't even realize they went that far south, but yeah, there's Incan ruins out there, which is sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh
Is there
yeah.
gonna be an
That's it.
Arizona video? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Hit
I
all
was
the-
just reading that. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Irwin, do you still have the banana suit? That's the one thing I've been wanting to ask.
Oh my goodness. It's in my garage somewhere. No
Dude,
way.
you need to pull it out.
I will. I will.
To give context, so Irwin and I lived in the same dorm building, and he broke during COVID. So he broke into my room one day wearing the banana suit while I was playing like War Thunder or something like that. I don't remember. And it was, I don't know, it was just so funny. He started taking Snapchats and sending it to Quinn and some of the other guys. It was just so funny. I think he did. Didn't you do the banana dance too or something like that?
Yeah. I'll send I'll send a video for some content.
You don't need to send a
Oh,
video, just send a picture.
that was so long ago.
Oh, I found the Travi Patty video.
Oh my goodness. But yeah.
Oh my god.
Mexico. I think
Quinn.
so. The Arizona video would be cool to tie in some of that like Mexico history because the Arizona and California were previously part of Mexico. I think that'd be a really cool idea to do, Carter.
Yeah. No. So Arizona is going to be a ways away. Episode 52. But we will get there, and I'm excited. Definitely going to hit all the states, all the territories.
Come visit me in Arizona, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Wyoming is number 45. So yeah, we're starting to make our way out west. And, a lot of the East Coast states are a lot smaller, so it's cool. I think as I do the series to get sort of move through American history, but also move through the U.S. geographically, east to west. Oh yeah, and Shamrock. Yeah, if you have pictures, like that'd be super helpful because that process finding all the pictures takes a while. So feel free. I mean, it's not going to be a while till I actually start working on the video, but absolutely, I'd really appreciate that.
I got a ton of pictures of Lake Powell in northern Arizona, so I'll send those your way as well.
there actually probably will be a Spain video at some point because I did go to Spain as part of my study abroad program. I was in Barcelona and went up to the Basque Country for a few days, which was really cool. Spain is super like culturally, linguistically, regionally diverse country. So did I learn Spanish? Yeah, I mean, I took Spanish in high school and college, and then I studied in Spain and Argentina. So I speak it enough to get by, I would say. I wouldn't say I'm fluent because I think my grammar is really bad. Like if somebody who speaks Spanish listens to me, they'd probably think I'm really stupid.
Yeah, I think Irwin and I can definitely call you out on that. Don't worry.
Yeah, but like I definitely like, you're sitting at dinner with like your host family who like doesn't speak any English. So you like, you have to like learn how to keep these conversations going, and you sort of learn. And my Spanish definitely improved so much. Like I went from I took my Spanish class, took Spanish before and after I went abroad. And I didn't even realize how much I'd improved until I came back. I was in a higher level course and it just felt so much easier. So I think like definitely important to like learn some of the language before you go abroad, but spending some time like immersed in a new country is, I think, the best way to like, you'll learn so fast.
Carter, let's just be honest here. You definitely learned from me and Irwin just absolutely swearing at each other in Spanish back in the dorms. The classics. That's
the thing about going to a boarding school with like students from all over the world is you learn a lot of different languages, but not a lot of words that you would actually want to use in public.
All over the world.
So many Chinese insults.
Oh my
god!
Just,
Mandarin insults. Name drop.
I think we all four of us here know how to swear fluently in Mandarin.
Speak for yourself. I only know how to swear in Spanish, and poorly, because Irwin keeps roasting me every single time.
Yeah, I mean, learning languages is cool because then you'll be able to sort of connect with hundreds of other people. And I'm trying to learn a bit of German right now, but there's definitely like that learning curve, like knowing what, like having the confidence to read a sentence and say, oh, this is this word, and I know what they're asking me for. And then like having a native speaker just sort of go up to you and like ask you a question and you being completely dumbfounded. So that's like, it's a huge learning curve.
Yeah, but it's definitely like a super useful thing to do, especially if you want to travel. Like, I definitely think you should at least try to learn like some basics before you go. Quinn, you learned some German, right? You've been learning some German recently.
Yeah, I'm just learning on Duolingo, so I'm not super good with it, but I know a little bit.
Yeah, the one thing I've noticed with all those like language apps is that they teach you like all the basics, but when it comes to conversational, like at least in Spanish, like I had to learn like some of Argentinian, because they say things differently out there. I mean, it's still under the umbrella of Spanish, but it's definitely the way they greet people and everything is different. And the way I was taught was definitely not 100%, because they have different words for cars and trucks and everything like that. So I was saying like, "Where's the bus?" And then someone thought I was saying, "Where's?" And like someone just didn't even know what I was saying. So I definitely had to learn on the fly out there.
Well, yeah, and that probably the strangest thing about like Argentinian Spanish is they pronounce their Y sounds or like the double L's as sh, so like an sh, and it's like so strange. And they also like because they've had so much immigration from Italy, like they speak almost with like the intonation of like they're speaking Italian. It doesn't sound like they're speaking Spanish words, but they're speaking it almost with an Italian accent, which is so interesting.
I didn't realize that a lot of Italians were moving out to Argentina. I just thought, I mean, at least where I was, there's a lot of like German descent.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Germans out there.
The thing about Argentina is they got like at the time when the U.S. was getting so much immigration in like the late 1800s and early 1900s, the U.S. was getting a ton of immigration, and so was Argentina. Like they were like the second biggest destination. So they were getting like, you walk around, you see like a Polish Catholic church, or like you'll meet people with like Arab or Russian last names, or it's really a country on the level of the U.S. whose citizens are just descended from all over the world. But Italy was like mostly Italy and Spain were the big places, but also like tons of Germans, tons of people from the Middle East, really all over the world, which is super interesting.
I would almost argue that Argentina is becoming even more diverse than we are
Yeah,
in some respects.
and now they're getting a lot of people from like neighboring Latin American countries, and so you're getting like a lot of people from Peru and Bolivia and Paraguay moving in. So there's like Peruvian food is so good, and there were like so many great Peruvian restaurants there.
Oh, Salvadorian food is so good.
Yeah, like you'll meet people who speak like indigenous languages from like Bolivia and Paraguay. So it's a super cool, like super multicultural place, especially in the city too, because that's the destination everyone was moving.
I gotta head out,
Yeah,
but
Quinn got a dip. So
great
maybe we should
talking
wrap
to you
up.
guys.
Thank you all for listening in, and we will record again sometime next week. So
Oh yeah, and throughout the week, you guys can leave comments in the podcast text channel, like questions and stuff that we'll get to next week. Also,
yeah, totally. Okay, well, thank you all, everyone who listened in. We had a lot of fun, and we'll see you guys next week.
see ya.
Thank you guys.